Obviously, this game, things can change for them. Perhaps we'll see a little bit more agency for them in the early game. Perhaps we'll see one lane that actually gets priority for Loud.
Yeah, we have to hope that they get something a little bit better this time around. We'll be on blue side, so you can expect a pretty different draft, most likely. I think also, it was a cute idea with the, Cassio Rise, double soul lanes, but I think you saw the downsides of such a composition. Hopefully we see something a little bit more standard out of them this time around.
Like a cannon ban?
A cannon ban? No, because they're on red side now.
So well, they're on blue side, but they didn't pick it in 1-2 on red side.
No, excuse me, they're on blue side now. They didn't pick it last time. I think they wanted, you could see, as I was kind of saying in that draft, they left it up hoping that the enemy team would first pick it to get the Aphelios. It felt like a mind game that PSG just kind of called out and said, no, we're still going Aphelios, we're still going Kennen, and we got all the power picks now. So,
all right, so we'll see if Loud do leave it open once again, and if they think that Robo can pilot it. As you say, he's only played once on it this year. Olaf Maokai banned away by PSG, Vi and Lucian so far by Loud.
So far, there's the Kennen ban. Said that did not work last time around. Let's knock that one down. Also makes sense because you haven't seen the Kennen ban yet. This time on blue side, I can expect the first pick of Aphelios if they are actually believing the priority on that champion should be that high. Does feel like it is the case. You saw how good Wako was that game. It wasn't like it was entirely about him because they were being so successful on the other part of the map. But in the mid to late game team fights, Wako was still pumping out the damage.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not always about what is ideal in a perfect world for a draft. It is what is the most comfortable for us. What works the best for us, even if we don't want to look to Aphelios maybe later on in the tournament. And here, Loud say we are most comfortable on this Nautilus, which is a three-way flex.
It was banned out in game one, coming through this time, able to grab the Nautilus up. We'll see where they end up putting it. I'm happy if it goes mid for Tenones. I like seeing him on playmakers. I think he can be a carry threat, but he's at his best playing things like Lissandra, Talia, Ari, these kinds of things that, yes, they can play for themselves a little bit, but are at their best comboing with other champions on the map, whereas Cassio is a very selfish pick in a lot of ways, where you're like, I need to farm up guys, don't do anything for 30 minutes, and then I'll be great.
Yep. It does become very strong as the game goes on, but if you lose the game before then, I mean, it doesn't manage to hit that power point. Aphelios Thresh once again for PSG, no real surprises there. The answer from Loud, expect to see an AD carry here. Maybe the form of a Zeri, could of course go to Jinx as well for Root. It's always a possibility with the Xayah banned away and kind of falling down his champion pool. If you picked an Italy here, you did give away the fact this Nautilus isn't going jungle, and I say it's a three-way flex. Like, Nord jungle is a whisper, a rumor on the wind right now, rather than something we're actually seeing brought to the fore.
I do like this adaptation, Croc. Not copying, pasting the G2 playbook exactly with Nautilus and Italy, splitting up the damage profiles a little bit more here. Does, again, like you said, leave AD carry as the next potential lock-in. I do think Root, despite being relatively quiet that game, was good.
Yep.
He had some decent lane phase. They were able to find some kills around him. In the end game, almost saved it at that Nexus defense by playing quite well. So I like going back to it and say, like, hey, let's hopefully get me to team fights where we're not down 6,000 gold, and I'll be able to actually help you guys this time.
That's always the goal, right?
Yeah.
A team fight where we're
I'm not asking for much here, but like solo lanes, please.
No, 4K, kind of manage with that. There's the Zeri in the end for Root. We'll give him the power in the team fights. Obviously, have to think about range as well when we get towards, Zeri, Viego, both short range, Nautilus as well, melee, but does have the ability to engage from a little bit further away. The question is whether PSG will look for a little bit more sieging potential, a little bit longer range, as they did in game one.
I respected the Yubao Darius hover as a bit of a mental damage attack onto the side of Loud, seeing Broken Blade.
It's not often we get to talk about Broken Blade absolutely stomping someone, but
I swear you guys are so negative on him and your top laners. They look good. And plus you got Chasey waiting on that line.
Played against Talon.
Hey man,
it does look good. You're right.
I think he looked really good.
Okay, well let's. So does yours. Licorice looking very strong at the moment. Let's focus though on these two teams in front of us. The Gnar banned away means that Robo won't be able to revert to comfort against this Cassante. Syndra as well removed from Yubao. They're trying to isolate some of those mages that can be powerful in the mid lane. Yubao could of course go to something like a Lissandra if you want to look for a little bit more lockdown threat. The issue is always going to be trying to match the push from the Nautilus in the lane, and whether or not you just accept that Nautilus is going to be able to roam around quite a lot and you just try and scale up in your own lane, or whether you try and actually get across the map with him.
Yep, some of the common counter picks being banned out, kind of telegraphed in the Cassante top. Yubao has not played Cassante mid yet this year, and it doesn't really strike me as a Yubao champion. I think he's best on range. He does not play a ton of melees. Even then, it's like Silas and Galio as the melees you're playing, which are pretty staple mid lane champions. As I say the Silas, they ban it out. Maybe they heard me and they're like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's not give that over.
Mark Z said it, so we just throw out all of our draft.
Silas with Nautilus ult sounds pretty brutal.
It does sound pretty strong. It can be pretty devastating. We'll see where PSG decides to go. This will likely be a blind. I could go jungle here, actually, if you wanted just to lock in something like the Wukong.
I think you do it.
Some power.
See both solo lanes officially.
Ooh, okay.
Junjia, Kindred coming in yet again. Very nice to see that. I, in particular, feel like Kindred is good this tournament. We have not seen the upper echelon of its ceiling hit yet. There's a lot of times where the comp that you are playing the Kindred with falls behind, then your ultimate is actually saving the enemy team or enabling them to die onto you. Yeah. We've also seen people, I don't think, coordinate the knockouts around the Kindred quite as well. So I think this is a champion to keep an eye on as the tournament progresses, maybe going higher in priority for a lot of.
Yeah, carry junglers really feels like it's going to be a key point of focus when we get into that bracket stage. Junja did bring out the Kindred in the PCS finals, 7-0-1 against FAK. Did a very strong job there, but that's the only time he's played it this year. Obviously very confident on the champ. Malphite locked in for Loud. And there's still the debate where you put your support, where you put your mid laner here. Nautilus, that flexible pick, Annie as well, worked his way all the way through the draft. Now, is it Annie mid or is it Nort mid? And because PSG can't tell, they have to decide what they're going to try and deal with.
Two very different champions in Nautilus and Annie, despite the fact that they share similar roles. You can always put the Annie in support. We'll have to see.
I mean, just thresh mid it, and then you can just, you know, multi-flex on both sides.
I will say, this is a very all-in, blow somebody up composition out of Loud. Very straightforward, very easy execution, but into a Kindred, who, if he is not the target you are blowing up and he is in range of whoever you want to focus down, will be able to keep them up no matter how many ultimates you throw at that person. Combined with the Galio, if you try and jump into the Kindred ult, I was highlighting that as one of the other melee champions that you do see Yubao bust out sometimes, does speak to the fact that PSG seems to have a pretty strong composition into how Loud wants to play right now.
PSG, it feels very much like an engage on us, and then we'll see where we go from there sort of composition, as you say. I do like the fact that Loud have a bit more agency. It's something we talked about in game one, the ability to do stuff in the early game. You can get the Spectral more stun, you can get Annie going in there with her stun as well, get her around the map. It is Nautilus support, and his pick potential as well in that bottom lane can be pretty devastating. Loud with a lot more arrows in their quiver, strings to their bow.
Tools in their belt.
Tools in their belt.
As an American, bullets in the chamber.
Yeah, true. Wheels on the car.
Well, I think there's a limit to how many wheels you want on your car.
Those big 18-wheelers, it's a van, just a big car, I think is the question we're asking here.
How far can you stretch the limit of a car?
Yeah.
There's a 747 a car just because it has wheels but can fly.
Yeah, an aeronautical car.
I do not trust you with engineering. I trust you with medical advice.
I
you are
do that
medic. You are not called engineer. Learn your role in team-based shooters.
We need Kobe up here for the chemical engineer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge match for both these teams, of course. The winner goes through to play up against Golden Guardians. PSG 1 game away from doing so. Loud need to win 2 in a row. Need to reverse sweep the series. It will only be their second ever international series win. Let's get on to the Rift for what I am sure is about to be a banger. We start off with a Chemtech Drake as well, so no Chem Soul this game, Mark.
You can hear the crowd backing Loud, I'm sure. One of the favorites of the crowd so far, having the loudest easily, living up to their name and knowing that they need to win this one to stay alive in the tournament against a, like I said, very difficult comp for them to play into against PSG. Wanting to get ahead early on to make sure that they're there early in fights. Making PSG face check, maybe then you can find Junja at the start of these fights. He will feel like kind of the primary target you want to blow up, because if you don't, he'll be able to save whoever they're trying to focus down.
I have a small tech that I just had to check to make sure it's going to work. But if Root is alive on the outside of the Kindred ult, and she pops her Lightning Crash, damages an enemy champion before the Kindred ult goes down, she can stack on people in the ult. So even though she's unable to kill them, she can still build up all of her overcharge stacks. And then at the end of it, just as really Sumizeri.
She's fast as hell.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the old Callista, but without the damage instead of move speed that you're stacking.
Exactly.
So it's a pretty common counter pick to the Kindred.
We probably won't see it, and I just thought it was a little fun thing, but it's always a possibility. Root has been a consistent carry for Loud.
Love this out of Yubao. Hard shove the wave, level 1, get a ward out onto the enemy Raptor camp, and get information for Kindred, as we see nice look to start that. Seos, though.
Woody realizing this is not going to be the easiest of lanes for him. The Nautilus into Thresh is a common matchup because Thresh, for his E and for his Q, locks himself in place. And the Nautilus hook actually has a slightly quicker projectile speed than the Thresh hook, so if Thresh tries to hook as Nautilus, you just chuck a Q at exactly where he is, and you know you're going to get the CC off first. And because of that, Woody's gone bone plating in the lane, knowing he's probably going to suffer a little bit of pain in the 2v2.
Absolutely the case. Junglers on opposite side of the map, both of them starting on their blue buff, clearing to the opposite sides. Junjie going top side, no surprise. K'Sante will be having a pretty good lane phase for most of this. Something that Junjie can hope for the Scuttle Crab spawn on this side of the map and then hopefully be able to grab that one if he wins the 50-50. On the flip side, of course, Diego making his way down to that bot lane that you're talking about has prio, has a lot of tools to set up kills, and I think that's something that Loud will have to do is get out of the lane phase with the playmaking of the Annie and Viego to go start finding some ways to accelerate their team comp.
And something Talon struggled to do in game 1. It was Yubao who was roaming. Yubao going up towards that top lane, getting those early kills. Talon, though, does have the early push. Of course, on the Annie, when you use your Q, if it kills a minion, you get the mana back, so it can be a little bit easier for you just to constantly wave clear and constantly keep that stun stacked up.
And like we were kind of saying as well, the range of Annie in the support position is very annoying. Also very annoying for melees in the mid lane. You can see Yubao trying to get the taunt off on top of Annie, but outranges it pretty easily, especially with the move speed on the E when you cast it on yourself.
Did he win the mark?
The flip?
Was it flipped up towards the top side? I didn't quite see. Oh, we can check Kindred. Yeah, if you look.
The Kindred mark confirmed.
If you look at Jinja's icon beneath his smite, there's a 1 on that icon. That shows that he has 1 mark right now. At 4 marks, you get increased range. You become a lot stronger as the Kindred, and then every 3 marks after that, you get more and more range. Really, it's a bit like Kane, where you only become a champion when you get those first 4 marks. They are looking to use Jinja and Yubao up towards this top lane. We talked about the roam potential from PSG.
Holding the wave.
Exactly that, Robo. Can try and catch the wave. Flash, Torn, Robo flashes underneath the tower though. Usher tanks up 2 tower shots. Robo down. Jinja, 1 more tower shot would be enough, but it doesn't find him. And PSG execute a perfect dive.
They are on a ward though. The fact that Robo dropped that one over the wall before he dropped means Croc knows exactly where Junjia was and did not give him a hop over the wall, forcing him up the lane. Probably going to have to hope he can execute the turret. It probably is long enough here.
It is. Good execute from Jinja.
The other thing too, because that dive actually developed so slowly and Junjia was holding the wave, he had time to swap off Viego onto Malphite as the target that he had marked. So he's actually grabbed his second already. A very nice start to the game for the former EDG sub-jungler.
And a new Quiver on his first back. Already stacking up that damage for the Kindred. Kraken Slayer, usually what we see from the Kindred. Don't really need the extra dash from a Gale Force. Might go shield bow, depending on the amount of burst from the enemy team. We'll have another look at this dive, Mark.
Yeah, Robo getting left on an island for the 2nd time in a row again. Tinones had TP, did not want to use it up here and then have to base and run all the way back to mid lane. But that does mean that Junjia, like we said, had time to swap over to Malphite, grab that extra mark, and now he's coordinating with Yubao to continue pressuring all over the map, this time onto the bot side.
Yeah, Yubao getting the push once again. We'll see exactly
whether
Seos can survive. Seos has a lot of CC. That's his one saving grace in this position. The wave is caught, Root coming in as well. Seos has the ignite, lands the hook, the taunt comes down, the tanking happens, and PSG walk out. The shield for Wacko didn't quite need it, but in the end, Jinja now 2 kills to the good.
Absolutely incredible dive there. Wacko taking the turret first, allowing Yubao to walk in and basically land that. Wacko, whoa,
flash hook, cleanse Root, dives in, tries to get 1 in response, but Jinja will get his 3rd mark of the game, alongside his 3rd kill to boot.
Oh man, they would look for a second like Wacko may be falling asleep at the wheel a little bit, feeling safer than he really should. Rout does manage to get the kill, costs both his summons to do it though. And like you said, does continue advancing this kind of game plan of turning Junjia into a legitimate carry threat this game.
I mean, right now he's already scaling up towards that power point on the Kindred, and for Loud, it's a kind of emergency stations. You know, you're sounding the alarms. You're saying, okay, well, how do we deal with the fact that this Kindred is 3 kills to the good? You can get towards this level 6. We talked about the burst potential, but if Junja gets the opportunity to react before he dies, that Lamb's Respite is going to absolutely stop your plans.
Yeah, this a difficult position now. Tinon's hitting a 6, Croc trying to get to his. Not the start to this game that we were hoping for Loud. And so PSG, that kind of slow, steady, learning where to attack, learning how to advance game plans. It's, again, the stuff that makes people so excited when talking about this team. They do the fundamentals so well. They understand what their comp wants to do. Their drafts are very smart. And then they go and actually advance those game plans, pass the correct way to where you're going to have pressure, then use that to pull a dive off. It's all very, very, very impressive stuff.
Croc looking for something in the mid lane, but Yubao Justice punches his way. The verdict is not guilty for him, and he'll survive to fight another day. Dragon up, Chemdrake for Loud if they do want to approach it. You can see a ward here from PSG. We'll spot the fact that Croc and Tinons have made their way down towards the bot side river. Seos en route. Wave crashing in towards them. Use the minion DMAT on the cannon minion. Seos hooked for a second, and Woody and Wacko playing around the wave perfectly there. Seos didn't have an opportunity to go back in with the hook because the minions were blocking his path. Ginger now here with the level 6. Has the mark on the Nautilus. Seos, 300 HP in a dream. When he throws out the hook, flash away, the flay, the dredge line. Seos going down already. Woody has fallen. Ginger's going to get the Lamb's Respite off here as well if he falls too low. Seos will fall. Wacko takes him. No mark for Ginger though because it was a solo kill from the PSG bot lane in the end. A 1-for-1 trade, a 1-for-2 trade, sorry, in the bottom side of the map.
We'll be able to grab the Dragon on the tail end of that play as well for PSG, so definitely going in their favor. Seos wanting to get the jump on that play, missed the hook, hit the wall, and then because the Galio range on the ultimate means that it's not ever going to actually be an even number fight anyways. There you go, PSG find those kills. You're getting a little scrappy with the Dragon, but
he's fine. He's got smite, he's got sustain. He's all right on the Kindred. Didn't even need to use the ultimate in that last fight. Yubao already has his stopwatch stacked up in the mid lane as well. Have another look at this because you see Woody flashes the hook and then Seos is in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, misses that hook, and then of course, like we said, the Galio ultimate making sure that it does become a 4v4 instantly. Goes and protects Junji, who doesn't even need to drop his ultimate there. Finding those 2 quick kills on the members who tried to go in.
It's also awful guns to fight into if you're Loud. Like, it's red-white. Do not approach the Aphelios in that sort of situation. Do not fight.
I was going to say, did you intentionally avoid the rhyme? Or
because if later on I use red-white, let's fight, then it doesn't sound like I've repeated myself across the cast, right? Do not approach.
Red-white, avoid at all costs. Yeah. Stop.
Say goodnight.
Or stop signs?
Red, white,
what color are stop signs here?
Red.
Just red?
I think, yeah. I mean, there's white around the outside.
Yeah, red, white.
I live in Berlin, man.
I
don't know what colors the stop signs are here. They're probably gold for the coronation, as far as we know.
Aren't you English?
Yeah.
So
I've lived in other countries more than I've lived in England.
Oh, okay.
So, just one of those things. Still have the accent though, so.
That's the
benefit,
only
right?
thing I noticed.
For the moment though, PSG setting up around this mid lane, 2,000 gold their lead. Rocket's taking the Rift Herald, and Woody and Ginger now going to realize that this is being snuck away underneath their noses, and Ginger and Woody can just step across. They're looking to catch perhaps Tinons and Seos as they try to join the fray. Woody, level 6, does have that box. And for the moment, it looks like Loud continues to make forays in, continues just to peek around the corner to see if they can find anyone. The Rift Herald pulled out by Ginger. Azur's going to be able to move from the top side of the map. Robo does have the unstoppable force. Flash engage from Tinons, a possibility. Yubao Justice punch away. Azure now needs to join up with the rest of his team. Tinons still looking for the Tibbers, lands it onto Ginger, but Ginger still has 500 HP. The hook goes down onto Robo. Yubao's going to flash away from them. The unstoppable force in as Loud look for the fight. They find one. The reset's now starting for Croc. The all-out across the wall as Seos is going to be locked up. Ginger on a rampage now on this Kindred. And in the end, a 1-for-1 is the extent of the trading.
Not too bad for PSG to save that fight. Initially well done by Loud, splitting the fight. Tinon's kind of sprinting at Ginger and forcing him back. Didn't need to use the ultimate, but still kept him out of range of the ultimate to save Yubao. But then Aja, like we were talking about, something he does so well is team fighting, using Seos both as an escape and someone to kill. Very well done there. And during that time, Junji also does grab his 5th stack now total. So he is well on the way to where you want to be as a Kindred player.
Have another look at this. Good Pathfinder from Azure to make sure he doesn't get stunned up. And you can see Tinons is trying to isolate the Kindred from the fight.
Yeah, Yubao was forced to step forward to make sure there was no follow-up because otherwise Robo's probably going to come flying in over the top as well and combo that CC with Tinons. So understood that he was kind of giving his body up to make that play happen. But then there's Azure, like we said, using that wall as both an escape and a delivery mechanism for that kill, winning that fight. And while the Rift Herald was still left alive, it is PSG with the better map position and reset to go ahead and grab that one after it.
Ginger, as you say, got his 4th and his 5th mark from the bot side Scuttle Crab. Now has that 75 extra range. It's going to be a menace in these next team fights because we haven't talked too much about it, but Allowed, even though they have this burst comp, it is relatively short range, right? The Annie, although her auto attack range is long, to get in range for a Tipper stun has to be pretty close to you. The Zeri, one of the shorter range AD carries, and then obviously melee across the board for their other 3 players. And if the Kindred can just dance back, just keep a little bit of distance, it becomes very tricky once again for Loud to approach team fights.
Yeah. Absolutely loving what we're seeing out of PSG. The draft strategies to kind of neutralize in both games. Yep. The initial plans from Loud, the execution of it. Junjia talked about a little bit being a sub jungler for EDG during their Worlds runs and coming over with the former coach of EDG as well to bring that kind of identity to this squad from the PCS and integrating it quite well. And in a lot of ways, Junji is not the star player. I think everyone talks about Wako, but in a lot of ways, Junji is the engine for the compositions in the early game play and the shot calling, kind of seeing how you want to approach this game. So very, very nice stuff out of him this game. This time, getting to be the carry himself.
Yep. He's in a very strong position on this Kindred. Does have that Rift Herald. Like to see him pop it down in the next minute before those plates do fall off. It's just optimization of gold, but you can see Loud trying to react by pushing through this mid lane. The stun's going to land with that Spectral Maul, but Yubao already had the taunt off, the Heartbreaker forward. They're trying to just kill off Yubao. Good hook, stopwatch. Do they have enough damage afterwards? The Ignite ticks, and down goes a Yubao.
Nicely done there by Loud, finding a pick-off in the mid lane. Get a bit of gold into this Annie's back pocket, increase her one-shot threat potential here. Nice little combination between Croc and Tinones.
Nice little play, and Seos as well with the hook in the middle of the Justice Punch. I think Yubao was probably dead anyway, even if he lands that punch. Now with the Dragon up, PSG trying to continue their stacking. Second Drake of the game for them. Not going to place this Rift Herald before the plates go down. Could have used it mid to try and garner a little bit more pressure, but because Yubao is dead, makes it a little bit trickier for you to really play around it. Seos could look for something here. Decides against it as PSG now make a beeline for the bot lane.
I thought for sure there's a chance that Lau was going to contest that. They managed to hold on to a number of ultimates while making that pick happen. Annie's still up. You still have the ultimate from Seosh, only Diego losing his. And so this Rift Herald gets dropped in a position where Shelly's going to have a hard time getting in there.
Won't get close enough. The hook lands onto Wako, but here's the hero's entrance. Stopwatch from Seos, trying to buy him a second to get back out of this fight, but already he's taken out. Ginger with the kill, another hook connects, and Tin owns. Another stopwatch, but it's another death immediately afterwards. Wako gets one, the dive in from Croc, looking for the Heartbreaker, resets, will possess Wako's soul as Ginger goes low. Root and Croc doing absolutely everything they can to turn this around, but the taunt in the middle of the dive across the wall will stop Ginger from falling. Loud take 3 in the bot lane.
Just when the game felt like it was getting out of Loud's hands, Root makes the hero play. So many cooldowns used at the start of the fight that you lose track of the real carry of Loud's comp, and that is the Zeri, able to start chasing down, almost got the quadra kill, just out of range for the long range W, and the taunt by Yubao pulling him off the wall, giving his life up yet again, but giving Loud an angle now, potentially back into this game.
Yeah, there's a huge gold infusion for the Zeri. Now even in terms of gold from Wako, you can see just a couple of seconds ago, he was 500 gold behind in that MasterCard gold difference that we saw. And it's actually massive as well that Ginger didn't die. The taunt as Root was going across the wall, stopping that bounty from falling and more gold being invested into Root.
One of them is much more expensive. He is the VIP, being escorted there by Yubao, but you could hear the crowd come alive, the momentum. If there's any team here who's going to have the crowd behind them and feel like a home arena currently still in the tournament, it's going to be Loud. And giving their fans something to cheer about there with that play. Have to see if they can keep making that happen. Immediately, PSG, though, back onto the accelerator, getting some chip damage down on this turret.
Wako with good guns to take down towers and objectives quickly. Still a 2,000 gold lead for PSG as well. You can see Ginger on his way towards his second item. First items across the board, an Abyssal Mask, making another appearance in the mid lane. I think this item may have been a bit OP.
No, it's very balanced item.
It's very human design, this item. Just gives you health back and gives you mana back when you take damage.
Gives you MR and takes theirs.
Yeah.
Very nice. So here was the play yet again. Loud getting baited forward to kind of finish this one off very easy, but then when this hook lands, they decide to full commit. There are all these defensive resources. Wako's ultimate, obviously Yubao's ultimate as well, and they think they can get the easy kill onto Sheos there. Andy also getting hooked initially makes it look like it's going to be a very easy fight for the side of PSG, but during this time, Rout, was just stacking up his passive this entire time that never really gave easy
Good
angle
flash.
there for anyone. Nice flash to survive there. You can see he wants to tag him with the W just a little too fast in the river, has to go over the wall. The taunt pulls him off the wall to stop that shutdown onto Junjia. Huge play there, despite the fact that it cost him his life.
Yubao, as you say, protecting the president.
The king?
The king? Oh, we must protect the king. Let's keep him alive.
Feels appropriate on the current day with coronation.
I think some people would have different sentiments, but as you say, it's great stuff from PSG to keep their jungler alive. 5, 1, and 2. Junjia now Black Cleaver complete. 2 items, a whole item ahead of Croc, and you can see Loud setting up for something. Maybe thinking that Azure is a little bit out of position. The wave push in the mid lane, though, for PSG.
I kind of like that idea. They didn't quite know how hidden they were, but Loud had actually done a very good job sneaking deep into that jungle. It did feel like, hold on, TP behind Junjia here.
The Lantern, though, will get into safety. Junjia will deal with Robo. Seismic Shard going down. Robo steals away a little bit of movement speed, but that's really all he gets out of that teleport. Did have the unstoppable force, but couldn't quite find a way to invest it in, with Junjia once again having that Lens Respite, the Kindred ultimate up. It's very tricky for Loud to really find a way to approach the fight. Azure, tanky. We haven't really talked much about the top laners. Azure and Robo have just done their jobs, you know, farmed up, got tanky, and now we'll start to see exactly how much impact they can have in these fights. The Rift Tower, perhaps the first 5v5 of this game.
Junjia split away from the rest of the team, so you have to keep your eye on exactly his positioning, because if he's ever too far away, maybe you can burst down one of the members of PSG, as Yubao forces out the stun out of Tinons. That's a pretty big win, actually.
Robo going in, Wacko's going to jump away, flashes away from the unstoppable force, and Wacko's already killed off Robo. Sails the second to fall as Loud find themselves wanting in the fight. PSG can gain control of mid and push this in, and this will be 2 kills and a tower in the end for them.
Such a disjointed engage by Loud there. PSG doing a good job forcing Tinons out from the flank, forcing his stun out, and that is the time that Robo decides to go in. No follow-up available, even if the Junji ultimate wasn't there. He was going after Wacko. You know, there's just no way that engage was actually going to work out. Ends up giving 2 kills over to PSG. They're able to go ahead and grab the mid lane turret, the one saving grace is Loud did grab the Rift Herald in that standoff, but does feel like it's too little in return.
It really depends on how well you can use it, but there's a 4,000 gold hole for Loud. Junjia now going to get the 3rd dragon of the game as well. Croc might look for the steal, can jump in with a Heartbreaker, but instead it's PSG that secure it once again. Mountain Soul in 5 minutes for them, unless Loud can find a way to answer this unrelenting pressure from PSG.
I do like the idea there by Croc to not burn his ultimate. Probably would need his flash back out, given the fact that there were extra people behind Junjia.
I mean, also, Junjia's really strong.
He'll just straight kill you. I don't think
1v1, you know?
Yeah, did not need any backup action now that you mention it. 6 kills now for him. And this Rift Herald, they're going to try and break mid-turret. We'll get in charge range.
But not enough damage to take down the tower. It's about half of the turret's HP after the plates have fallen. Baron up. But I really doubt that either team wants to prioritize it as of yet. Perhaps, I mean, PSG are in a position where they could kill it really quickly, but having watched PSG across this tournament, I think they're going to wait for, like, you know, Drake and then Elder and then maybe a Baron.
I was going to mention game 1. I know a lot of people felt like they could have ended quicker when you kill the enemy jungler right in front of Baron and you're 6,000 gold ahead. You can start it as well and not even finish it, just kill them when they contest you. But PSG is not that kind of team in a lot of ways. I do think it's something that going forward in the tournament, whether it's tomorrow against Golden Guardians, should they win that, going to the main stage, you do kind of have to take your opportunities, because every time you don't take a fight that is sided towards your favor, you're kind of giving the opportunity cost to the enemy to then pick a fight that they want. So I do think there's moments where PSG could get more aggressive, but they are also very, very good at doing what they do, which is picking the fights that they want.
It's just about how many windows you want to leave open, right? Like, you can close a few windows by shutting the enemy AD carry down, by making sure that Robo isn't really able to carry a game. You can get a 4,000 gold lead, but you leave a few windows open if you're not taking all of these objectives off the map, if you're not really suffocating the enemy team out of the game. For the moment, though, PSG looking to defenestrate Loud and remove them from the equation here at MSI. Loud still have Croc and Sails teaming up. It's worked out for them once in the past in this game, but PSG very willing just to step back whenever they think there might be pressure, whenever they think they might be outmanned, outgunned, outnumbered, or outplanned. They can just retreat from the situation.
A lot of outs that the enemy team is looking for. Currently not finding any of them for Loud. Did feel like they had that one moment in the bot lane, but since then PSG has regrouped, kind of gone back to what they do best, grouping up, making plays.
The good thing about that moment is Root is 2 items, right? Like, Zeri is strong. If he gets some time in a team fight, he can absolutely come alive.
I think that is the thing that you were kind of hinting at a little bit with Root being someone who can stack up as Seosh.
Hook lands in the shred. It's not often you see a hook land and then the enemy team
run away!
Oh, I don't know what to do. I didn't think I'd get this far.
Very funny interaction here. But I was going to say, Root being someone not just stacking up the passive of your ultimate after you pop it, but I just mean getting everyone low and coming out of a Kindred ultimate is still a very good situation for a Zeri pentakill angle. You know, when everyone's low, you get these chase down sequences, you can finish a lot of people off, and there is a lot of AoE damage if the Annie Tibbers is like burning everyone down. I will say, so far, Junja has done a very good job of annihilating Tibbers with his smites as soon as he can, and making sure that she's not running around. Tibbers does a lot of AoE damage burn with the Leandry's build if you're not paying attention.
I've seen a little sequence of events here where Loud have actually gained control over this river. You can see how little vision PSG have. And the Baron has been started. Loud just calling PSG to the party. They're like, hey, come fight if you want to. Seos keeping Azure at bay. Yubao coming across from the side as well. Tino's looking for that flank position, but PSG now starting to invest the vision. 4,000 HP on the Baron. Tino's forced down towards the bottom side. The Baron disengaged by Loud as they look for Azure, who can escape, but the stun's going to land. The Gargoyles heals him up for the moment. The shield coming out as well as Azure down to half HP, and Loud slowly winning the fight. Depth charge onto Junja. There's the hook as well. Seos flashes away. Azure low. The Heartbreaker coming into this lightning crash spot as the hero's entrance is going to jump into the middle of them all. Crot trying to escape down towards the bottom side as Robo is low. He's killed off by Wako. Root though exhausted, still stacking up. The overcharge. He's looking for more. The hook lands. Yubao gets another as Crot goes down. Root's still alive, but he's the only one alongside Tinones. And all he can do is stand and watch as his team dies in the mid lane.
PSG played do-si-do with Loud, baiting them in and out over and over again, but walking away 3 for 0 and healthy enough to finish off this Baron. Well done managing the threats of Loud as they came in one at a time. Aja in particular taking himself down to the limit, but staying up.
Great play all round by PSG, getting out with all 5 players alive as well. I have another look at it because it's Azure core and then it's Junja core, and you think for a moment that Loud can come out with the victory in the fight.
Yeah, and the whole time Root was on the backside just hitting closest target. Not the worst fight you can imagine here as they forced Junja low, just not able to again combo the CCs together. Annie was not able to charge through Aja, who was buying his space. Then they kind of trade that out for Yubao as the closest target for who they have to get through during that time. Robo is finished off, and then the rest of the team can kind of charge forward. They bait extra members in, flashing out of Croc's ult there, denying the potential reset to come through, and making sure that they do not hand any gold back over to the side of Loud.
Perfectly managed team fight, and now with Baron and the Mountain Soul in their eyes, PSG
gotta go. You do not want to give over the extra resist to a very tanky PSG comp.
Root, 2.5 items. Tinones has the Void Staff as well, but Azure's just so damn tanky. The hook lands, Tinones looking for the stun already. Robo's down, Wako just assassinates him, and now PSG on the front foot. That's a double for Wako. And Loud really don't have a way to answer. Root, Croc, and Seos on the retreat. There's a tower here for them, but Azure will tank it. Gladly he will. The taunt comes out as well. Another for Wako. It's 3. Azure seals away the pentakill, but we've seen enough of Felios Pentas to round this one out. PSG, in the end, will clean up the fight, and Loud are left wanting.
5 for 0, clean ace for the side of PSG. Unfortunately, do not have a path to end the game currently. Too many turrets still available. They're still working some of these down in the bot side. Grab the soul as well for Junja, while the rest of his team grabs the turrets. And while the game is not over, it's everything else.
Yeah, 10,000 gold lead, and Mountain Soul. Baron still for a minute as PSG can continue to push in. Won't be inhibitors off this Baron because of the fight, because of the distraction that happened, but in the end, PSG just in such a commanding position, and their Red Bull Baron power play already up to 6,000 gold. For Loud, what do you do in this situation? You have to kill Junja, you have to kill Wako, and to do that, you have to get through Woody, Yubao, and Azure, who are very happy just to stand right up in your face.
Yes, on top of the other defensive tools available, Yubao's ultimate, Junja's ultimate, Woody has the lantern to pull people out after they charge in. Just feels like even without how the game went gold-wise, it would be very difficult to teamfight against PSG's composition here. And now they are back on the map, posturing, ready to end this game and punch their ticket to a match versus Golden Guardians for the last spot in the main stage of MSI.
G2 and BLG already qualified. We meet up with the big dogs after a short break, but now PSG do have to cross their T's and dot their I's, finish it up here.
That's their favorite thing to do for PSG.
It's methodical, paint by numbers for them, pushing in this top lane. Azure diving forward, gets the shield, has that Mountain Soul shield as well. And even though Robo is pushing in the side lane, this inhibitor already forfeit. The Lantern's going to come out as the mid-wave crashes as well. Yubao escorts that one in, and this should be another. Azure, he hasn't taken damage yet. They've got through the shield now, Mark, and it's just not going to be enough for Loud. More of a bang than a whimper for them in this series, although they have looked great through the rest of MSI. PSG today have just been too damn strong. First Nexus tower down, the second shot to follow. You have the feel as Seos is locked up and shut out of the game. Wacko with a massive shield, the red-white let's fight. Tinones flashes in, but the immediate cleanse from Wacko. The hook lands on Tinones as well, and he is isolated from his team and sent packing back to the fountain as Wacko opens up on the Nexus towers. The Lamb's Respite keeps Junja alive, and PSG want to wipe away the fight. But Root is trying to do everything he can to stop it from happening in the end. The all-out invested, and all is left. But PSG is taking down the Nexus. A date with destiny tomorrow for them against the Golden Guardians to see who makes it into the bracket stage of MSI.
PSG playing with their food a little bit before blowing up the Nexus, but there they go. The clean 2-0 victory over the CB Lowell's representatives in Loud. Setting up for a very interesting best of 5 tomorrow versus Golden Guardians.
It's going to be a banger. I'm sure PSG today look clean. They look like exactly what we expected from them. They played